North West now, where 10 more illegal miners resurfaced from a disused Stilfontein mine shaft this weekend, adding on to the more than 1,500 others who've since been arrested. Officials expect to resume their efforts to bring out more on Monday. Their operations stalled when underground footage showed unsafe conditions for mine rescue experts who've been brought in to assist. Let's get the latest from our reporter Ziniko Mhlaba, who joins us live from Klerksdorp. Good morning, Ziniko. Tell us how illegal mining has impacted safety and the stability of that area.
Good morning, Masichaba. Yes, indeed, that is one of the concerns which was raised by Minister Senzo Mchunu when he was giving, context of how Operation Umgodi started here in the Northwest. And of course, one of the major problems he outlined was the issue of, community safety being compromised, saying that the communities amongst the mining belt here in Klerksdorp, Stilfontein and Ogni are currently really vulnerable to crime, but also instability. And of course, he went on to mention the fact that there's a serious influx, of illegal arms here in this particular area, also going as further as saying that those illegal arms have made their way underground. And that was one of the things that was picked up by the investigations as they were preparing, for the third phase of retrieving those individuals who are currently still underground. But this is a province, just like Gauteng, which has a very, rich history of multinationals working in the mining areas, in the mining operations here in the Northwest. And of course, that was another concern raised by government, saying that, there's a serious problem of influx of illegal immigrants in these mining towns, and that makes it difficult for government to completely and of course try to exhaust all its resources without any help from the neighboring countries which these illegal miners who have been resurfacing are coming from. And we know that according to the statistics, Mozambique is leading the pack, followed by Zimbabwe and Lesotho with the list of illegal migrants, illegal miners coming from South Africa. But I'm joined now to get context and overall historic ties between these multinationals here in Klerksdorp. I'm joined now by the SACP Secretary in the Northwest, Mr. Madoda Sambatha. Sir, thank you very much for your time. You've been in the Israel for some time before you got into government, but as a former mine worker, as a person who grew up in these areas, talk to us about the relations between multinationals and how they've been able to survive and work together when these operations were still legal. It seems as if that relationship, has carried over in the midst of the illegal mining that is taking place. And of course, give us your context in terms of how government is approaching this whole issue of trying to mitigate all these challenges here on the ground.
Okay, let's take it from the background previously. During the discovery of gold and diamonds, and during the time of apartheid, the system in the mining had used mixed recruiting in South Africa and recruiting in the neighboring countries. And that was done formally by the establishment of Teba Limited. Teba Limited was then a recruitment agency for the mining industry. They were recruiting South Africa across the board and recruiting in the neighboring countries. That's the only industry in the country formally that has had people from SADC working in the country, staying side by side with others. At the time, there was no illegality. Even at that time, it was not recruitment of non-documented. It was documented. They will be transferred from their state with the acceptance of their consulate, be transferred to South Africa, regulated as to when and how they're going back and renew their permits. By that time, everything was under control. Illegality came with the introduction of illegal mining. Yeah. And I want us to separate now illegal mining with artisanal and small scale. Illegal mining should not be regulated by any form. All what must we do? Law enforcement agencies must be allowed, they must be helped, they must be given resources to close that component of illegal mining component. In this instance, illegal miners do not exist for any regulation. The worst part is that the ones we are planning about retrieving, all of them, have nothing to do with ownership. Owners are not underground. Owners are in the surface. And they are doing what is termed illicit gold or illicit commodity trades.
Yeah. So would you say well, where we are today, because government is really open about its attitude in terms of how it's going to assist, but also it is considering now having a conversation with neighboring countries who have these illegal miners underground in terms of how they can contribute, in the work of retrieving those individuals. Do you think maybe to some extent, the historic ties will not really iron out in terms of who comes in, how they get involved in the country's mining operations?
We should be asking a question. In this discussion, where is Home Affairs? Why are they quiet? Here is a proof. 99% of everybody who in this activity has came out is non-South African. Worse, 90% of them being non-South Africans are illegal in South Africa. Thirdly, these people who are not South Africans and these people who are illegal in South Africa are armed. Do you still want to treat the operation as humanitarian operation? What humanitarianism is that? That armed people, non-citizens of a country, illegal in that country, are expected then to be kissed all over by being in a country illegally. They are in an activity of mining illegally. They are armed in that country.
But what should be our approach though? Because government can't really identify illegal person and illegal immigrant underground, but also, according to the country's constitution, a right to preserve life is one of the greatest values in our constitution. So how do we then find balance without really victimizing those we term illegal immigrants who are underground? Because there's no way now of even identifying them, because they are not carrying any identity documents that can say Zinigo is from Mozambique, Temba is from South Africa. How do we find a common ground there?
No, Zinigo, there's two illegalities here. There's an illegality of me being in a foreign country with no documentation. That's illegal. It's border control. Two, there's an illegality on being in a mine, mining, yet you are not employees of any mine, yet you are not a company, you are an illegal miner. So all of them as a group, South Africans and non-South Africans, where they are termed illegal miners. Yeah. What then comes out when you do verification, who are you? I am Madoda from Mozambique. Give me your ID. There's no ID. Who are you? I'm Zinigo from Mozambique. How old are you? I'm 15 years old, a miner. This is an international break of law where young people kids are not expected to be in the workplace. Yeah. Now, this is three ways of breaking the law. Yeah. You can't be here, you have no documentation, you are mining illegally, you are worse, you are a miner.
All right, Masiba Mumhlakas. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That's Mr. Madoda Sambatha there, who is the Secretary of SACP here in this province. Just giving us a context of who we are as a country, especially when it comes to the integration of multinationals here in the mining towns in Klerksdorp in the Northwest province. Thank you, Ms. Chaba, for now.